Forward. Halt. Left. Face. Breathe. Right. Forward.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here. Forward. Right. Face. Forward. March.
Mr. Secretary, if you could call the roll, that would be great. Mr. Moses, excused. Mr. DeRue. Ms. Berkmeyer.
Here.
Mr. Vinatieri.
Here.
Mr. Richards is here. Ms. Knox
Here.
and Mr. Green.
Here. All right, we'll begin with item C, the Student Congress update from Mr. Farley. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the Board of Education and Superintendent Jankowski. At today's meeting, our group came together to write holiday cards for our deployed military personnel, and I was honored to guide the activity. I began by talking to the group about the experience of service members who are deployed, especially during the holiday season. I shared how difficult it must be to be away from loved ones, surrounded by unfamiliar surroundings, while others are celebrating with their families. I emphasized that these small gestures, like receiving a card from home, can make a significant impact and remind them that they are not forgotten. Throughout the activity, I could see that everyone was truly invested in making the card special. It was inspiring to watch my peers take time to write heartfelt messages, knowing that their words could brighten someone's holiday season and offer them a sense of connection. I had the following building updates to share with you this evening. All schools are currently accepting donations for Christmas for Anchor Bay. Ashley is collecting new student books, preschool to 5th grade. Great Oaks is collecting games. Lighthouse is collecting books 6th through 12th grade. Lottie is collecting hats, mittens, gloves, and socks. McConn's is collecting hats, mittens, gloves, and socks as well. Naldrit is collecting pajama sets, set sizes, youth large to youth adult XXL. Middle School North and Middle School South are collecting middle school age gifts, while the high school is collecting high school age gifts. McDonald Early Childhood Center is collecting hats, scarves, mittens, and gloves. At Lighthouse, they are hosting an all-school assembly tomorrow afternoon. Lottie, on December 12th, there will be a family game night. At Great Oaks next week some new after-school clubs will begin. At McConn's, members of the student council will be ringing the bell for the Salvation Army's annual Red Kettle Drive on December 11th and 12th, while the location is still to be determined. At Ashley, the green team is collecting clean, empty Little Bits muffin wrappers. At Naldrit, Cookies with Santa will be held on December 11th. The first graders went to the Veterans Home across the street on Veterans Day. The students performed for the residents and delivered cards from the entire school. Butterbraid fundraiser delivery is tomorrow, November 21st. At Middle School North, December 6th is movie night, and NJHS is selling gobblegrams. At Middle School South, November 8th, there was a glow dance for all grades. On November 12th, students wrote messages of gratitude for the staff on Post-it notes during lunch. And at the high school, the Socktober sock donation drive, hosted by Key Club, collected 700 pairs of socks for the Macomb Foster Closet. The JROTC hosted a drill meet on November 2nd with several top 10 placements in knockout events and a third placement in an honor event. Also, the Student Council has been asked to design a Christmas tree for the New Baltimore Downtown Development Authority. HOSA and GRTC will be hosting a blood drive on December 4th at Anchor Bay High School. Students age 16 and older with staff members are encouraged to donate. Thank you, and I'd like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the updates. Can you give me the blood drive dates one more time and times?
So it's all day on December 4th.
December 4th. Got it. Thank you. All right, at this time, I wish to amend the agenda and add item number 5 under new business. superintendent contract. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to amend the agenda. I don't? Oh. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
It's going to include item number 5 as presented, right?
I am going to amend the agenda next.
Okay. I'll second.
So I have a motion by Ms. Knox, supported by Mr. Richards. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, Mr. Richards, would you call the roll?
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Richards is a yes. Ms. Bergmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, now I'd like to amend the agenda and add, I would entertain a motion to add item 5 under new business, the superintendent contract.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Menatelli, supported by Ms. Knox. Comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none. Mr. Richards?
Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Ms. Knox.
Yes.
Ms. Bergmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Richards is a yes, and Mr. Green.
Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to item E, superintendent's update. Mr. Jankowski?
Tim is pulling up my presentation, but this will be update on the bond, the next phase. So that's what we're going to be asking you to approve tonight. Okay, the next phase of the bond will primarily be the middle school alignment, and it'll also handle part of the lighthouse conversion to the early childhood center. So if you're looking at this image of lighthouse, you can see the A section is the original 1949 section of lighthouse that's along Washington, and then section B and C, that's the what we call the Will Lee wing. It runs along the playground there. So that'll be one portion that we're talking about in this, and we'll get into the bids as we go forward. Tim, can you advance the slide, please? And this is just an aerial view. Another portion of it, you can see in the red box, we'll be adding a playground, and that will be for the ECS area, which will be along Washington. So there will be a gated playground. That's part of this bid as well. Next slide. Also, this will be the work at Middle School North. So sections A, B, and C will be the new 5th grade wing. And that will be the expansion of those classrooms. Basically, we're converting them so that they'll be, right now, they're about 640 square feet. They'll end up being just shy of 1,000 square feet, like 995 square feet for each classroom. Next slide, please. And also a playground area that will be right by, that is closer to the transportation garage and behind Middle School North. This is based off of, we did surveys of the students and so on for what they wanted, and kind of we've developed a plan for that. So that'll be, that was shared previously, and that'll be part of this as well. Next slide. And lastly, Middle School South. This will be converting, once we're done with the auto shop area in the high school, the auto shop materials will move to the high school. Then the old auto shop portions of that will be converted to a new band room and to a small engine repair class. And also some upgrades to along the football field at South, including another storage building, possible relocation of some things like the shot put pit and so on. And one of the projects that we're pulling ahead because we could, because the bids came back so well, is the roof for the entire high school. Next slide. As you can see, we had quite a few bidders. So there were 4,126 companies that were invited to bid. 508 looked at the bids. We had 70 total bids, 5 bidders per category, 14 bid categories. What we did in order to try and to elicit better bids, we broke it up by project by building. So then they could bid on them individually by building. They could bid on the entire project. And you'll see, I'll point out in some of them, what you'll see is companies would bid on each one. And then if they got all 3, they would give a discount because they had all 3. And I'll point those out as they go along. Next slide. So again, that's basically what this is saying. We did by building, we did standalone. We also put in alternates because we were looking at if we can pull things ahead, and we'll go through those options as we work through this. Next slide. First area is demolition. So we had 4 bids for that, ranging from the low bid was $164,700. What you can see is the shaded ones are the ones that we accepted. So Blue Star had the low bid for Lighthouse and Middle School South. And then Reese Contracting had the low bid for Middle School North. Both of these have already worked on projects in the district. So combined, these are the 2 award recommendations that we're requesting. The contractor for masonry was B&E Services. They had the lowest combined bid across all of them. So we are just recommending to go with that, and they will do all 3 buildings. So that's, you can see how it worked on the bids. Next slide. Structural steel, Lapeer Steel, you can see that they had, this is a good example of where that they bid on each one, and then they had a voluntary alternate on some different things they could do. If we went that route, they could still hit all the specs and save money. So with that voluntary alternate that they offered, they are the low bidder at around $34,000. On general trades, again, we had 2 companies that are going to be the bid that we're recommending: RE Development for Lighthouse, and then BJ Construction for North and South. Again, they would be the low bidder for each of those when you include everything. Pulling forward the roof, we looked at several different options. We had them bid several different options. And we were looking at, basically, we talked about in the previous board meetings about an energy bond potentially and having solar panels and so on. And we were looking at basically the type of roofing. There's EPDM, there's Duralast, there's TPO. TPO, even though it came back less, it hasn't been around long enough to have a full warranty cycle. So we didn't feel comfortable doing that because we just don't know how that will kind of work. It just hasn't been in use long enough. So then the decision was between EPDM and Duralast. Right now, we currently use Duralast. We've had experience with them. It was a lower bid, so we decided Duralast would be the better way to go. Then the question was, if we do an energy bond, you have the decision between a 20-year, which is standard, or a 30-year warranty. When you're looking at a project, and we actually had some savings here because we were anticipating it to be more, but because of they didn't have to replace as much insulation on the roof. So we knew we were going to have some savings. So, and then the goal is to match the warranty to whatever we were going to put on the roof if there's as part of the energy bond, because of all the warranties that are not warranties, the rebates that are offered. So the thought was it's only about $200,000 more to go from 20-year to 30-year warranty, and considering the cost of the roof will be about $2.5 million to $3 million, depending on which option we took, to get an extra 10 years out of that would be, it's just value added. And so our recommendation is for the 30-year warranty. Then the decision was between covered board or no covered board. Typically, you do not need covered board. However, if you put things on there, and it just makes the roof more durable if people are going to be up there and maintaining things. And again, about $200,000 option. So if it's going to add some wear to the roof, and it just keeps our options open. So that's why we're recommending to go with the Duralast 30-year with the cover board, which would be about $2.3 million. Any questions on the roof? Because I know we had quite a few options.
I have one question, not necessarily on the new roof, but with the current roof, was there any warranty with that roof?
With the
The
current,
high school, yes.
yeah, currently it's a 20-year.
All right, we're obviously past that. Okay. Thank you.
Next slide. Next is aluminum entrances. This was another pull ahead. We had some areas that we knew we were going to, if we were actually going to save that for later, but then we were like, if we have the ability to do it, we would do it now. One of which you'll see for Middle School North. We chose the alternate for that one. It's so two companies, Trenco Glass, Preferred Glass, and then they had an alternate, so we could do security glass in those as well. So if you were at Middle School North, it's the large entrance off the library. They would replace all that and some other entrances that just had rust spots, and they needed to be replaced because they were steel doors. Now they'll go aluminum, more energy efficiency and more durability in the long term. And they'll have it's bullet resistant safety glass. Next slide. For a hard tile, it's not a major part of it, but we had Continental was with everything included. Continental, we did in the interviews with the contractors, the 7,500 is actually for both buildings. They just gave it as one bid for that, but it will cover both buildings. So that made them the low bidder. Flooring, this was for Lighthouse, for Middle School North, and just for the classroom areas, for all of that. We did have some discussion on, since we're doing the Washington wing, then the Will Lee wing, what do we do in between all of that? Because now it's just going to have, it would just keep the same carpeting. We know that carpeting, it is reached its end of life. And so we figured if we could pull it ahead, so we put that as an alternate. And that's what you see on the alternate 3 for Lighthouse, is just to continue the flooring between all of those wings up to where the old original building meets the newer wings that are at the east side of it, closer to the aquatic center. And again, it's the lowest complete bid on all of these. The one, hang on, go back to that one more time. You'll see Turner Brooks on Middle School South. It's the gray one. They didn't have a complete bid. They missed some areas. They missed some square footage. So that's why they actually withdrew, because it didn't cover the entire project. Next slide. Painting, again, we're recommending 2. There's one for Lighthouse and Middle School North. That's RG Painting. And then Amex Painting, that's for Middle School South. And again, lowest bidder in each one. Next slide. Fire suppression. So this is just, we need to update with the new classrooms and change the fire layout. Again, we had 2 bidders. Lowest bidder was Absolute. Mechanical, again, you'll see across the board here that we're recommending Ecker Mechanical. They had the lowest bid for Lighthouse and South. Then they had some controls that we're looking to update the controls, so then they could do that as part of it. And that's what you'll see there. Those are the alternates. Then Miller Bolt as well. They would have Middle School North, and then again, some controls that are part of that. Electrical, we only had 2, and we're glad Shoreview was a complete bid, because this probably had one of the largest spreads. The roof actually was the largest spread. If you notice, it was 2.3 million on the low bid, up to 9.5 million. On this one, there's about a $2 million gap between the 2 bids, but Shoreview's, they were the lowest on all of them. So we're recommending again as the lowest complete bid. Then site work, this is concrete and everything. Again, you'll see Cordis Brothers. They're actually working on some of the project now. They were one that they had the 3 areas, and then you can't see it because the box is there, but they said if they get all 3, they'd reduce their price, and that made them the lowest bidder. Sinclair for the playground, again, lowest bidder. So about $242,000. They would do Lighthouse and the playground area at Middle School North. So total, we had budgeted about 12.4 million on this. bid results with the pull ahead is 10.2. So we're still ahead of budget, and it just gives, and we could pull ahead some projects. So again, this gives us the ability to get out ahead of if there's future inflation and all of that. So otherwise, it was a successful project for all of that. And we'll just put that 2 million aside as we move forward through, because the next thing is going to be the elementaries. We'll have Ashley, we'll have the rest of Lighthouse, and then the combination of and then Naldred as well. So then we'll have that in the bank to use going forward. Any other questions?
I have one on, with Lighthouse, with that addition. I know before you had to walk all the way down the hallway to make it to the other side of the school. Is that going to eliminate that issue also?
No, that will not.
All right. And what are the, you have any dates, expected dates, start dates?
Well, what will happen now is most of this is meant to happen over the summer. However, we are looking at areas. So if it's approved by the board tonight, we'll meet with the contractors, then they will start staging when they can have access. So we are looking at when will we be able to move the auto shop classes to the high school. So it's dependent on that. So then that's for the south. Then we have north. Part of we're from the counseling office over, we're looking if we can move those classes so then they can start at spring break. But that's kind of our initial thought, but it really depends on the contractors and where they're at. But the hard stop date is, again, it's second week of August about.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Other questions? Mr. Jankowski, you mentioned small engine repair at South. We're just offering that to our 7th and 8th graders?
Yeah, so we're looking at what programs we can have as a feeder for the high school program. Since we're moving autos out, then they would start with small engine repair, and then that would be a precursor to autos.
Once we get the welding shop set up, the auto repair shop moved over, the restaurant open, we're not going to be shuttling students back from,
No,
really for any purpose, back to South from the high school.
no. In fact, we met with the high school staff yesterday, and we were talking about right now, for them to take those classes, they have to take 2 hours out of their day because 1 hour is really just transporting over and back, and they won't have to do that. So we'll be able to do more because kids can just walk down the hall and take
So we'll still block the classes for 2.
it really depends on how they decide to structure it now because
Okay.
there'll just be more time that they can use. Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item F, hearing of the public. Those who wish to address the board on the agenda may complete a brief request stating their name, address, and the subject of their comments. Remarks about specific employees should be directed to them personally and not included in the public forum. Per board policy, each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes to speak. Administration will follow up with the concerns within 48 hours of the board meeting. So I alphabetized the requests, and it looks like Julie Domi is first.
Push. You want me to start back over? Okay. All right. I am here tonight because I would like to share my support for our varsity football coach and remind the board who he is for our students, athletes, and community. It's truly a privilege to stand here tonight and express my deep appreciation for a man who has not only shaped the lives of countless young athletes, but also has had a profound impact on our community as a whole. I'm speaking, of course, about our varsity football coach. As a parent, we often talk about the people who influence our children's lives, the teachers, the mentors, the coaches, but we don't always realize is how rare and truly special it is to have a coach. This is someone who goes beyond just teaching the game. He teaches lessons that last a lifetime. First and foremost, our varsity football coach is a builder of character. When our children walk onto the field, they know that they are not just there to play football, they are there to grow as individuals. Coach has always emphasized that being a part of this team means being accountable, not just to the coach, but to each other, to their families, and to themselves. He instills in them a sense of pride and responsibility that goes beyond the game. I've seen my boys grow under our varsity football coach's guidance, not just as athletes, but as young men. The lessons learned on the field, how to push through adversity, how to be a good teammate, how to show respect for others, and most importantly, how to believe. These are all lessons that they will carry with them long after high school. And as a parent, there is no greater gift than to see your child develop into the person who understands the value of hard work, teamwork, and integrity. Beyond the individual growth, Coach has built a program that is truly special at Anchor Bay. It's a program where success isn't just measured by wins and losses, but by relationships that are forged, the lessons that are learned, and the confidence that is built in every player. The value he has instilled in this program has created a culture of respect and unity that extends far beyond football. As a parent, I'm grateful for the varsity football coach. He's showed unwavering support for my boys and for the team. His belief in them, even when they don't always believe in themselves, has helped shape this group of young men who will go on to do amazing things. It's not just the players who are impacted. Our varsity football coach has brought this community together. Through his leadership, he has shown what true teamwork looks like, how we can support each other and lift each other up. This stands our field with proud parents, students, and alumni, and we all share in the success of this team. There's a sense of pride and unity that Coach has cultivated here, and that is rare. And for that, I am incredibly grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is, I'm not sure if it's Jerry or Gary Hansen.
Jerry Hansen. I play on the football team. I come here, I I came here today to speak on behalf of the Anchor Bay football team, community, and Coach G. What the school board has taken away from the Anchor Bay football team is unrefundable. Since freshman year, the countless hours of dedication and commitment that I've put in this program has been wasted. My senior year has been completely ruined. This team was different. I knew by the way Coach G spoke about us. He talked us up more than he ever has before, and I know it wasn't for no reason. We were flat out dangerous in every aspect of the game, and one thing we were missing was our coach. Our leader was unexpectedly taken from us after the third game of the season. We were lost. Many players instantly became disappointed and discouraged. The whole entire atmosphere of practice had changed. Players weren't working as hard as they normally were, and the focus level wasn't nearly to max capacity. It's very hard to be your best when you don't have the guy by your side who's been pushing you your whole high school career. From an outside point of view, this may not make sense, so let me give a different perspective. What does a middle school classroom do when there's a substitute teacher in the room? They misbehave and don't get work done. The same could be said for many players on his team. Coach G was a final piece of the puzzle and he was taken from us. I'm not pointing any fingers or blaming the poor performance of our team on the school. I just know that the outcome of the season would have been much different if we had our leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Dominica Johnston.
Hello. We are here today in support of our teacher and coach. Regarding the ongoing Title IX case, I share the frustration and disappointment expressed by many. It is distressing to see our coach and teacher subjected to this prolonged process. A Title IX investigation should take no longer than 2 months. Under Title IX, the school must conduct an adequate, reliable, prompt, and impartial investigation into the misconduct complaints at issue. The reason for the promptness requirement is because of the lengthiness of a case can be quite damaging, as any testimony and records can be less accurate. We are now over 2 months into the investigation, and there still has been no resolution. I understand we cannot be provided details. However, we would like to know where we are at in the case. How long is it taking for witnesses to be interviewed? Has Coach G been interviewed? Or is this an untimely and violative of the promptness requirement? I think we are getting to the point where he legally has the right to challenge a district on how this case is being handled. Many of us are disappointed in the school district's actions or lack therefore of. As a result of this, we must also consider profound impact the situation has had on our student athletes, specifically our senior athletes who have dedicated 4 years to football and aim for playoff success. It was heartbreaking to witness their dreams being stripped from them and see how affected they were by their mentors' uncertainty. It was devastating. With our football banquet approaching, Coach G's presence would mean a lot to our kids, parents, and coaches. His absence over the past few months has been deeply felt. I respectfully request that the school district explore possibilities for his attendance, considering the positive influence he has had on many. The kids deserve it, and so does he. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles Penzi?
Good evening, Board. Although I echo many of the comments that have been made by other parents in support of Coach G, I wanted to address a couple of things that that I've had the opportunity to review. I have actually read much of Title IX, and I've actually reviewed your policy regarding how this Title IX process is supposed to be handled. And I wanted to raise a couple of issues that came to my mind as I reviewed that process and concerns I have for the board. First of all, the Title IX coordinator in the school district is Ms. Gonzalez. I guess she's the human resources person for the school. Nowhere in the policy does it provide for the investigation to be delegated to any third parties. She's responsible for that investigation. She's responsible for making the decision. She's responsible for handling the process from beginning to end. Second of all, there is a presumption under the policy, and in fact Title IX, that anybody who's accused of sexual discrimination cannot be held responsible or treated as being responsible for that action until there's a finding after an investigation. Finally, Coach G has been put on administrative leave. That is not an obligation or requirement under the policy. Your policy says that that is an optional action that could be taken under whatever circumstances were required. I've heard quotes and seen things where that was part of the policy. Well, it's not. It's an optional provision. Didn't have to happen that way. As a taxpayer, I'm concerned about the cost. As a parent of a football player, I'm concerned about the impact this is having on the football program and the future of the football program, no matter what the outcome is of this process. As a parent of a student at the high school, who is a student of Coach G's, I'm concerned about the damage that's being done to the kids that he's supposed to be teaching, because they're not getting any education in his classes. You have substitutes there, but they don't know what they're doing in terms of the weightlifting programs and things of that nature, and they're not getting any education in those classes. And finally, as an alumni of this school district, I'm concerned about the embarrassment. I graduated from this school in 1988, and I have never been so embarrassed by the way that this process, by anything the school district has ever done, by the way this process has been handled. I think it's your obligation as board members to figure out why these things are being done this way, to account to the public, the people that you represent, for why this has happened this way and how these decisions were made. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Schroeder?
I'm Robert Schroeder, the interim head football coach at Anchor Bay Schools. I just left Coach G about an hour ago. We went out and watched a football program. I had a few notes. First of all, I want to kind of go over the state of the program, with affects 180 families and a lot more in terms of our program. We've thoroughly enjoyed, when I say we, I'm speaking for myself and for our 15 coaches, our 4+ years. What we've accomplished has been spectacular. This is one of the best things that I've ever been involved in. And it's been quite a ride. From 80 athletes in 2020 to 175. We have 52 freshmen, 50 JV, 73 varsity, 14 coaches, 16 moms, numerous volunteers, game day. We went from 7 seniors to 27 seniors. Our goal was to establish a first-class program, not just a team. Our vision was similar to Romeo, those coaches we've known, and we kind of looked at them, and that was our vision. The uniqueness of the small town, we felt Romeo, New Baltimore, very similar, pride in the area. So we have multiple programs, and this is a year-round thing. This is partly missing our coach right now. We have a winter program. Recruiting is starting now. There's special Saturday speed workouts, boxing, spring camp, summer camp, 7-on-7 tournaments, team bonding, bowling, bonfires, community service, fundraisers, veteran services, blankets for the elderly, reading to elementary schools, scrimmage jamborees, senior goal setting, faculty appreciation night, Thursday team meals that have been spectacular, and the community has really gotten into that. Mom's Football 101, parent night, senior send-off, tailgating, first class, and a first-class banquet. All this is guided, directed, fostered by the energy of our head football coach. We were 3-6 this season. Our schedule had us play 8 playoff teams. Our last game was an overtime loss to Rochester Adams, who will play this Saturday for the state semifinal championship. We can play with the best in the state. This program really has advanced in our, coach would say 5 years, I'm saying 4.5. Our head coach has coached for 44 years, 4 state championships, multiple MAC championships. He's in 2 Hall of Fames. That's only part of it. The human toll on him. Let me just put it at that. The human toll to him has been devastating. The program is an all year. We have many players. Many love and wish to lift really at this time. He's a tone setter. He's our leader. He's our expert coach who we missed. The players have been devastated by the loss, especially the seniors who have lived our 2024 pledge, which I keep on my wrist, of discipline, trust, and commitment.
Mr. Schroeder, I would ask you to wrap up your comments, please.
I would ask if one of the parents is behind me would yield to additional time for me. So no, an additional parent who's coming behind me would yield to time. I think that's part of the normal procedure in these meetings.
So Miss Valente is the only other person
Thank you.
that has
All right.
agreed to speak. Is she yielding her time to you for 3 minutes?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. He's a master teacher who has helped many inexperienced teachers in our building. This is a teacher coach, not just a coach. This gets me to the Title IX, and I'm really not, at this point, going to address the Title IX, other than when I talk to people in the community, they feel that the tail is wagging the dog. And by that I mean that the lawyers are running the school district, that our HR person has farmed this out, and everybody says, no, we can't do anything. Justice delayed is justice denied. I can barely remember what I had for breakfast. This comes with age, but yet interviews were still being conducted a week ago. We're going on 11 weeks. The administrative guidelines, as was stated before, the investigation is completed in 45 days. I believe you parents have a Title IX abuse complaint, which was also mentioned. In addition to knowing how much money is being spent, there are cases that are being pursued by other municipalities regarding these kinds of problems. This is not fair to the complainant. This is not fair at all. Who's in limbo, does not attend the school. You know, the teachers who wrote this up, this is not fair to them. I'm concerned about that student. Time. Let me be clear. This Title IX complaint is defined as discrimination. The school HR director is in charge of this. The student, again, as I repeat, does not go to the school. The district, there's an important point. The district chose to put our coach on leave. Title IX clearly says this is an optional. And here's where the school had a security guard who was moved to another school within the district. When I talked to the HR person about this, she said, well, that's different. How is that different? The person has had a complaint against him, and we moved him to another school, did not put this security person on administrative leave. Is coach a threat to our players? He is the rock. No one in the school has ever talked to the coach regarding the complaint. Let me repeat that. No one in the school has ever talked to coach regarding the complaint. Let that sink in. What does the Title IX coordinator do? Call the lawyer. Then the Title IX coordinator says, it's out of my hands. There was never an attempt by the parents, the student, Mr. Giannoni, to discuss this. Let me be clear. This option is written into Title IX. Quote, an option for an informal resolution is available. I've been in education since 1966. I had problems with my own children. I went to the school. We resolved those problems with an administrator, with a teacher, whoever was a problem.
Mr. Schroeder, I would ask that your time has expired.
I would. The last part is very short here. I'll kind of get it real quick here, because obviously this is personal, but it is also, I have pledged to the players, and they have come back to me in the same fashion. One of the most important points that I want to make is our athletes wanted to walk out of the building. They were gonna walk out. They were going to demonstrate. And it wasn't just going to be the athletes. You can ask them. We stopped it. I felt it wasn't safe. I didn't want that to happen. In hindsight, sometimes I'm wondering why, because when we talk about a resolution to this, we're beyond the time. No one has talked to coach in 4 weeks. No one.
Mr. Schroeder, I'm going to have to ask you to step away from the podium.
The last thing I would ask the board, each one of you, we have one last thing in our football program. It's our football banquet coming up December 3rd. It's off-site. You've already had the precedent of having a security guard who you did not put on leave, have coach come to it. This Title IX is going to take 6 months. It's going to take a year. It doesn't matter. The big thing is that our coach be reinstated as quickly as possible. And I beg of you to let him come to the banquet. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on with item G, our consent agenda. Our consent agenda consists of the approval of the minutes from the October 23rd, 2024 special and regular meetings, our personnel report, our financial report, and our bills payable for October 2024. Items on the consent agenda are of a recurring nature and are voted on as a single item. Any board member may request an item be removed without a vote of the board, and it will be discussed and voted upon individually. At this point, I'll entertain a motion that the board approve the consent agenda, minutes, and personnel report.
I'll make a motion. to
I'll
approve.
second.
Motion by Ms. Knox, supported by Mr. Vinatelli. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, we could move on to a roll call, sir.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Ms. Burkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Richards is a yes, and Mr. Green.
Yes. Excuse me, motion carries. With that, we'll move down the agenda to new business. Item number 1, summer tax resolution. Each year, the board considers an ongoing resolution requesting that each city and or township collect the summer tax levy. This will continue from year to year until specifically revoked by the board. The business office is recommending approval of the attached resolution, which provides for collection of 50% of the operating millage, or 9 mills, and 1/2 of the operating debt retirement millage, 5 mills, for the fiscal year 2024 and 2025 to be collected in summer of 2025. The recommended action is that the Board of Education approve the summer tax collection resolution for fiscal year 24-25 to be collected in the summer of 25. Mr. Superintendent, do you need me to read the resolution? All right, I will entertain a motion to that effect.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Richards,
I'll second.
supported by Ms. Knox. Comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, I will move to a roll call vote, sir.
Mr. Richards is a yes. Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Burkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
and Mr. Green.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 2, field trips. Jazz Band will be traveling to Central Michigan University in Mount Pleasant, Michigan with 22 students and 10 chaperones for Jazz Weekend on February 6th and 7th of 2025. They'll be traveling with personal vehicles. The recommended action is that the Board of Education approve the Jazz Band travel to Central Michigan University on February 6th and 7th, 2025 for Jazz Weekend. I would entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vinatelli, supported by Ms. Knox. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
You said they're going to be take personal vehicles.
I did.
Thank you.
I guess my question would be, what, is there a transfer of liability that shifts from using a school bus or using a charter company to them driving a personal vehicle?
No, they do permission slips as part of it, so there's a waiver.
Okay. Anybody, any other questions? All right, hearing none. Could call for a roll call on that.
Sure. Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Burkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Richards is a yes, and Mr. Green.
Yes. Next on the field trip list is the DECA Sports and Entertainment Marketing Conference. DECA Career Pathway Conference, Sports and Entertainment Marketing Conference in Orlando, Florida, January 30th to February 2nd, 2025. They will take 15 to 20 students and 2 chaperones. Jacob Yono and Jamie Peachon will be in attendance as chaperones. Recommended action is that the Board of Education approve the DECA field trip to Orlando, Florida, January 30th through February 2nd, 2025 for the Sports and Entertainment Marketing Conference. I will entertain a motion to that effect if somebody is so inclined.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Knox, supported by Mr. Richards. Call the roll, sir.
Comments?
Comments? Do you have comments?
I have comments.
Okay.
Are we taking a bus? Are we flying?
No, they are flying.
Yeah, flying. Okay. No comments here.
Anybody else, any comments, questions, concerns? Back to you again, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Richards is a yes. Ms. Berkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
and Mr. Green.
Yes. Motion carries. Field trips are approved. If they do need any more chaperones, I trust one of you may volunteer.
For the Florida one?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
In January,
Make sure that's noted in the minutes.
please.
January 30th through February 2nd. Terrible time to go.
Negative
away.
10 here.
Terrible time. All right, well, let's spend some money with some award recommendations if we could. The first one up is the auto shop equipment. Anchor Bay Schools received bids as you were shown, I believe as part of superintendent's presentation. We received bids on November 5th, 2024. Corey Wiley, maintenance supervisor, has reviewed the auto shop equipment bids. District received 3 bids, all meeting the bid specifications and requirements. It is a recommendation to award the auto shop equipment bid to equipment distributors in the amount of $51,984.37. Equipment Distributors has provided service and equipment to Anchor Bay with success. This project is being funded by bond funds. Recommended action is that the Board of Education approve the Equipment Distributors contract to provide auto shop equipment per specifications in the amount of $51,984.37 as presented. I will entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll make the motion.
I'll support.
Motion by Ms. Knox, supported by Ms. Berkmeyer. Comments, questions, or concerns?
I have a couple of questions, as you probably expect, right? So I'm looking at the purchase list of this. It looks like one of those is a fire cabinet, 60 gallons.
Yes.
What kind of materials are we gonna have stored in that flammable cabinet?
Typically, it's anything, oil, gas, whatever. It has to be by code. It has to be in there, stored in a fireproof cabinet.
Okay, so you're talking like different types of motor oil, or are we talking like kerosene, gasoline?
They really should not have like kerosene, I don't see, but, I would see gasoline. being there.
Okay. And this might be a specific question, but are the kids going to be trained and understand that if they have anything that's volatile going into the flap cabinet, that even though it's contained within the cabinet, the container still has to be sealed?
Yeah, again, that's part of the whole safety training that they do.
Gotcha. And I know last meeting we talked about it, so I appreciate all the information you gave last time. So I just want to make sure that we're, crossing our T's and dotting our I's in that regard. But other than that, I'm good with this. I appreciate providing the bids and the specifications. I can look at this. Like one of those things as a parts washer. I mean, obviously same thing. If you're not washing parts, the lid has to be closed and all that good stuff in case you have a respiratory toxicity intake. But I'm good.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns?
Can you maybe just give a brief breakdown? Dominic had mentioned some of the equipment that was included, but can you maybe just give a brief breakdown on some of the equipment that is on that list?
I know there's a chart that has all of it kind of listed. So it's AC machine for different types of freon. So R314A, AC machine for R124, oil drain, heavy duty workbench, fire cabinet, parts washer with stand, toolbox, Votech kit, diagnostic scan tool, LED light reel, retraction extension cord reel, retractable air hose reel, safety glasses, fluid storage tank for used oil. So yeah, that's the bulk of it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none, if you could call the roll, sir.
Sure. Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Mr. Richards is a yes. Mr. Green?
Yes. Motion carries. Continue on with our award recommendations. Item B, award recommendation, Phase 3 of the middle school construction. The recommended action, and you guys have all seen part of superintendent's presentation, and it was shared with you in your packet. The recommended action is that the Board of Education award the total award amount for this bid package of $11,247,679.30 as has been presented with you. I will entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll motion.
I will second.
Motion by Mr. Richards, supported by Ms. Knox. Questions, comments, concerns? I know part of Mr. Jankowski's presentation tonight had some information relative to this. We had a little bit of conversation about what was happening. Any other questions? I know it's a lot of money.
Well, and I wanted to point out one thing too, because it's 10 million was the base bid. There's always 10% for contingency in case something happens. So that's why it's more than what the bid was.
Last call, any questions? All right, hearing none, I have a motion on the floor, sir. If you could call the roll.
Sure. Mr. Richards is a yes. Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Bergmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
and Mr. Green.
Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to item 4, Energy Bond Owners Rep Agreement. Before the board this evening is a contract with Performance Contracting Owners Representatives LLC to provide consulting services related to potential energy performance contracting projects within the district, including solar, lighting, mechanical, including boilers, controls, and HVAC. Performance Contracting Owners Representatives has over 30 years of experience in the energy sector and is well suited to assist the district in evaluating energy-related products and ensuring that the district is getting the best value. Performance energy contracting is very nuanced. It requires significant understanding of the industry to ensure all of the energy savings from the projects is actually realized by the district. The recommended action is the Board of Education approve the recommendation of administration and approve this contract. I will entertain a motion to that effect. And if for some reason, if we get the motion onto the floor, Todd, you negotiated this contract, right? Is this yours? So Todd can certainly answer any questions that we have before we would go to.
So
a
let me
vote.
make that motion so we can have a discussion, then Ted can explain.
Perfect.
And I'll second it. Yes.
All right, motion by Mr. Menatelli, supported by Ms. Knox. You're up. Sounds like there's a few questions, so.
I'm happy to try and answer any questions, but I have Kurt here. Kurt is with P4, our performance contracting.
And he's certainly welcome to join you at the podium, Mr. Rathbun, so.
Want to come up, but yeah, we're looking at a lot of, this isn't an area that we have an abundance of expertise in when it comes to solar panels and performance energy contracting. So as we talked about in the small blurb there that was just read, it's a very nuanced. There's a lot that goes into it to make sure that what we're promised on the front end, we get on the back end going through these contracts. The contracts can also oftentimes be a couple hundred pages in terms of the length of the contract. And there's a lot that goes into it, making sure that all of the things that are said that are going to be done are done. So that would be if we had controls, for example, making sure that all of those control contacts are properly attached to the equipment and everything's monitoring the way it should. And so that's an expertise that Kurt and his company will bring to this. We believe that it will, having Kurt look at these contracts and ensure that we're getting everything that we want will certainly come back to us. And in terms of savings over not having a true understanding of how these performance contracts work and us taking a misstep along the way. So that's why we're kind of bringing this to you tonight. There is initially not a lot of risk. It's about $2,000 a month initially. And only if we go forward with one of these performance contracts that we think is going to be good for our district, we'll do that analysis up front. if we do end up going forward with one of those projects, like Phil talked about a little bit earlier in the presentation, solar at the high school. You know, we think that might be a good project for us. The fact that we've got the Inflation Reduction Act is going to give us a rebate on a lot of these programs that we're looking at. You couple that with some of the energy bonds that are out there right now. We think there are opportunities to really provide savings to the district, not only initially, but, you know, far into the future. So we're talking about if we're able to reduce the high school electric usage and supplement that with solar, we believe we can reduce our bill that we pay right now about 40% at the high school. And that would be over the next 30 years. So we're really looking at long-term savings here and making sure that we're following through on all that, jumping through all the hoops for the Inflation Reduction Act to get those rebates. And Kurt will definitely be a part of that, helping us make sure we do that.
Mr. Vendatelli? You good? Ms. Knox?
You answered everything. So.
Okay, well,
Anybody else, any questions?
there are any questions?
You know us.
How long is the contract for?
Well, the contract, there's no set period of time. So at this point in time, it's in its preliminary stages. It's just a small fee on a monthly basis. The contract can be terminated. I believe it's the first 90 day, after the first 90 days, we can terminate the contract within 30 days notice. So it's, you know, we're able to get out of that pretty quickly. There isn't, if we don't have a contracting project that we decide we want to move forward with. So if we don't go forward, which I can't foresee that happening because I know we're going to do lighting. We've already written about $2 million of lighting into the bond. So to go forward with that, we would definitely do that project. I think we'd also, for sure, we know we've got to do about $8 million worth of mechanical, which includes some of the things that Patrick talked about, the boilers, the controls, the HVAC. So all of those. So I know that there are going to be some of those projects that we're going to do for sure. Those projects will range probably at least 2 or 3 years out, I would say, to complete those projects. And then if we do go forward with the solar, that's going to be something that, you know, moves right to the top because we're looking at starting that roofing April-ish in terms of the install April, May on that. And so that would, the solar panels will have to coordinate with that installation of the roof. So, you know, I would say probably 2 to 3 years initially, and then there may be an opportunity even further down the road if we have some more work that we're doing along those lines.
Does Performance Contracting currently represent any other school districts within Michigan?
We do. We've actually done 13 districts in Michigan. Excuse me, we've done 13 districts in Michigan. I'm born and raised here in Michigan in Monroe County. And so the business was started here by me. The closest districts that we've done, all 13 were in the Lower Peninsula. The closest districts are Yale, where we did a $1.2 million project, and then a $14 million project. The 14 million is just wrapping up now. We also did Marysville Public Schools. We've done Van Dyke schools. We're currently working with Warren on a project very similar to yours with both solar and a bifacial solar panels and white roof. The other districts are Lansing, Romulus, Flushing, St. John's, quite a number of others. So, yes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and we reached out. I know Phil reached out to some of his counterparts. I reached out to a couple of mine, and Kurt's company came very highly recommended. So
my question, when you bring a contract forth, do we get the opportunity as a board to like kind of piecemeal anything? Like we can pick and choose the different, or do you bring it as one package because of the amount of savings and it's all or nothing type?
no, I
for the
think
different
each project
projects?
would be, you know, distinct in the presentation of that project. So, you know, I think ultimately, all of these will kind of probably be wrapped together and looked at in totality, and I'll let him speak to that a little bit, but you know, each of the projects, so I don't think we would come to you and say, we're doing these 5 projects, here they are, take it or leave it. I think it would be, you know, here's a solar project, here's the light project, here's the mechanical project, and we would probably bring each of those forward, much like Phil did tonight, you know, talking about the projects that we're planning on doing at the middle school and Lighthouse.
So more à la carte, is that what we're thinking?
Actually, yes, the
Okay.
à la carte, what we do is bring everything together in groupings where it makes sense, where we've worked with the district to customize that. But ultimately, everything is set up so that the pricing is transparent and it's à la carte. So you could, when we get the pricing back and we look at the savings of each piece, you can say, Kurt, we like 1, 3, and 5, but 2 and 4, we'd like to wait on those items right now. And it can be everything is custom tailored to what the district wants.
Anybody, anything else? Thanks, guys.
Okay.
All right, I believe I have a motion on the floor. However, I don't remember who made it.
Done. Yeah, Mr. Bring it in.
Mr. Bendatelli made it.
Yep.
Ms. Knox supported.
You got it. Yes, yes.
All right, any more questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, can you call the roll since it's a contract, sir?
Sure. Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Bergmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Richards is a yes, and Mr. Green.
Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to the added number 5 under new business, superintendent contract. The superintendent has been rated effective on his most recent evaluation, and pursuant to his contract, the board approves an extension to his contract to June 30 of 2028. Additionally, the board authorizes the executive committee to meet with the superintendent to update his contract pursuant to recent changes in law. So at this time, I would entertain a motion not only to accept his rating of effective, but also to allow the executive committee to meet with Mr. Jankowski to discuss his contract according to the changes to law. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Manatelli, supported by Ms. Knox. Comments, questions, or concerns?
I do have a comment. Says that he was rated effective. Just so the public is aware, last year he got highly effective because this year the tool changed. We only have 1, 2, and 3. And I'm forgetting what they are, but I know the top one is effective. So he still has the highest overall rating. It's just because the tool itself changed. Just to clarify,
I was going to say the same thing. I appreciate that.
just to clarify.
Ms. Berkmeyer?
Are we time bound on his contract in terms of when the executive committee meets? My only thought being, I think, one of our committee members is outgoing, and I don't know if the committee is going to change going into the new year, so I didn't know if that's anything that needs to be taken into account, but
Fine, cool.
Well, that's going to be, obviously, Mr. Jankowski and I could talk about it. I don't know if you're looking to get something done before the first of the year
No,
or.
I figure we'd probably have to do it in the spring anyhow.
Okay. Okay. Anybody, anything else? All right, hearing none, I will move for a roll call vote, sir.
Sure. Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer,
yes.
Mr. Richards is a yes, and Mr. Green.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And the last item that I have on my, is a closed session. And I will entertain a motion that the Board of Education move to convene into closed session under 8(1)(h) of the Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.268, 1H, to review opinion from legal counsel. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make it.
I will second.
Motion by Mr. Richards, supported by Ms. Knox. Comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, sir, if you call the roll to go into closed session.
Mr. Richards is a yes. Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Bergmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
and Mr. Green.
Yes, we will move into closed session at 8:15 PM. All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion to come back out of closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Knox,
I'll second.
supported by Mr. Vinatelli. Comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, how about a roll call vote, sir?
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatelli,
Yes.
Ms. Bergmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Richards is a yes. Mr. Green?
Yes, motion carries. We were back out about 9:10 PM. All right, moving on down the agenda, item 4, points of pride. Ms. Berkmeyer. And comments, because I don't see comments on here. So if you have something else you want to add, that'd be a good time to do it.
I just want to congratulate our fall sports on their seasons, and I've heard that the DECA group has been very active, traveling around and doing very well. Congratulations to them, and I know they've had another field trip on the books for January,
Mhm.
February. But mostly just keep up the good work, and Thanksgiving is around the corner for all of our staff. Hang in there.
Mr. Vinatelli.
Point of pride. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Stay safe out there. That's all I got. Thank you.
Ms. Knox.
I think it was at the last meeting I mentioned I went to Naldrit to talk to the Girl Scouts, and they had requested a new tire swing. I brought that up either in the meeting or privately with Mr. Jankowski. And I actually just, when I got here today, saw this email from Eleanor Bomarito from Girl Scout Troop 77607. You came and talked to my troop last month at Naldrit. I wanted to thank you for your help because we just got a new tire swing. Our school's very happy and we appreciate it. So the girls got to see in action, speaking to their representative, and then they got their tire swing. So it's a cool point of pride that we can even make something that's very important to them, seemingly small to us, and made it happen. So thank you, Mr. Jankowski and Corey.
Yeah, that's cool, Joe.
Yeah.
Appreciate you doing that. Mr. Richards.
I have a couple.
What?
I have a couple.
Oh, all right.
Yep.
Sorry.
I'm not sure if I mentioned it last school board meeting or not, or if I missed it, but October was National Principal Month. I just want to thank all the principals at Anchor Bay for doing everything they do for our students. I'd like to thank the Anchor Bay Band Boosters for putting on a great fundraiser event. I appreciate the invite. We had a couple of winnings up here at the table here, but thank you for the invite. It was a great time. Speaking of band, congratulations to Skylar Kozlensky, Emily Bocano, Braden Washburn, George Mavis, Gavin Belor for practicing with the Oakland University Honors Band. Thank you for representing Anchor Bay. Anchor Bay Junior Hoop sign-up is still in process for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students. The camp is on Sunday, starting the first week of January. Reach out to Coach Zaleski if you're interested. Congratulations to Middle School North Captain of the Month, Fortis Security Guard Dan Quinn. Dan has gone above and beyond for our students and staff. He is the first one to volunteer and help with any situation. North is very lucky to have him. Shout out to Middle School North students who honored our veterans on Veterans Day. The Junior Honor Society collected donations for disabled American veterans. And they also placed 150 American flags at North for Veterans Day. Great job. Congratulations to Middle School South Students of the Month. Unfortunately, I cannot name them because their names are not listed on Facebook, but congratulations. Naldrit Student Council decorated the front sidewalk for World Kindness Day. Great job. I think it's a great event. The school store has some great merchandise on sale for holiday season. Shop local and support your nautical shop. Congratulations, middle school North Student of the Month, sixth grade Lily Kraus, seventh grade Nash Camacho, and eighth grade Ethan Barg. Lottie Elementary School is hiring a resource room teacher. If you're interested, you can apply on the Anchor Bay website. Also, thank you to Naldrit's first graders that went across the street on Veterans Day to sing to the veterans and hand out cards that the entire school made for them. Congratulations to middle school SELT students who donated 2,084 individual cereal boxes for the Anchor Bay Feed the Bay program. And congratulations to Miss Killinger's first hour class for donating the most per student. I would like to thank our transportation department that set up the New Baltimore Trunk or Treat. Thank you for your dedication to our school district. I was going to hold off on my points of pride this month, but I'm still going to do it since he's not here. I'd like to thank Mike Moses for his 6 years on the school board. Mike's always made decisions on what is best for our students first, and always been a voice for our athletes as well. Thanks, Mike. That's all I have.
Very good. Well, so I do have a couple of comments, but let's talk about the band boosters. I like how you referenced I'd have to play the tape back, but some people up here won prizes.
I too noticed that.
By a show of hands, who are some people? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
think you.
Yeah, no, I got nothing. I got nothing. I got nothing. Congratulations to our DECA. It sounds like they're on, quite a roll, and they're heading off to, I think it's national competition is what we approved tonight down in Orlando. So that should be exciting. Not only is it Orlando, it's January, but they're being very competitive. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate Miss Knox for going and talking to the Girl Scouts. I think I already said it's just pretty awesome that they get to see, even at that age, that
Yeah.
if they talk to their elected, representative who's there, you're there and you're supporting them, and you want to, like you mentioned, it's such a small thing, but big thing for them. So, and then again, the band boosters had a great time there. They always put on a good show, and it's a good time. So I look forward to that. And I think that is all I've got. So moving on, board committees, Superintendent Jankowski, I don't know if we've met. I know there's some meetings coming up here in December before the break, but 2 or 3 committees are probably going to meet here before January 1st.
We
But
had the realignment, but that fell under curriculum committee.
Delegate that, so.
yeah, so how is the realignment?
Um,
I haven't attended a meeting.
They're going.
So they're meeting on Zoom, and we've met twice now. Mr. McDonald and Miss Elias meet, and Mr. TD has been on, as well as Mr. Latona. And mostly it's at this point more geared towards the 5-6 building, because that's kind of the bigger change that's coming up. But the idea was getting the parents that are participating, some from each of the schools, to be able to voice questions, concerns, and so that Mr. McDonald and Miss Elias can kind of start working on getting these answers back. But it's also it's more or less a forum where these Q&A can go back and forth a little bit, so that they can maybe gauge how to release the information to all the parents, as more information comes about, like what kind of information, all the parents are really going to be looking for. So it can be a bit comprehensive, but then also going forward, as parents bring up maybe concerns of how this realignment's going to look. But we're also talking about having, beginning maybe some parent committees coming up maybe in the new year, to start working together and working on initiatives, maybe to bring the students into the buildings or bring the kids together, and do some of that stuff for a few reasons, just to get them acclimated ahead of time. Also, with the potential upcoming bond work, we never know how that's going to look in the summer, in terms of like a student orientation and when that will occur. So making sure on all ends that does occur, whether it be early or both or all of the above, but that we don't miss that opportunity because of the bond work. And then how maybe any sort of like PTO type program might get organized, and and what the parents want to do or come forward and do. for this, I say new building, but this new venture with 5-6 with Mr. Teedy. But of course, it's also gonna extend forward for the 7-8 building as well. But like I said, I think, more of the concern comes with the 5-6 building, as that's kind of the bigger change, as the 7th and 8th graders have already kind of been in a middle school environment. They're just more or less changing location. So I think it's going pretty well. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of answers quite yet to be had, but I think over the next month or two, like more of those answers are going to be able to be hammered out. Some of them are just because of negotiations with the teachers union, like ongoing, and how things will look with teacher placement and who's going where. So it's difficult to hammer out like what a schedule would actually look like until that piece gets done. So we're just we need a little time, more or less, but I think that's the gist of it.
Anybody else, any committee or meeting updates? No?
No, but I just noticed we don't have a legislative update. I don't know if this is outside the decorum of the board, but Mr. Jankowski, if you're able to, would you mind to provide a little update on that?
Really, nothing has kind of moved forward at all. They're still thinking about what they're going to do. What happens in lame duck is they will start kind of setting the table for everything. And then the last day of the session, which would typically, if it holds, it would be December 20th. I think that's the Friday before Christmas. They will do a votorama, and they will basically stay in session for 18, sometimes 24, 30 hours until they get everything voted out and then go on their holiday break. So right now, the general gist of it is because the margins are still close, the House is having trouble getting all the members to show up in order to move anything forward. So
Okay. The reason I ask, there's a bill out there, HB 6068, and there's a number of those that are potentially concerning, but this one specifically is attempted to overhaul the entire sex education model for schools, including one of the things that would not just be included, but enforced to be taught in sex ed would be to firmly recognize that individuals have different sexual orientations and gender identities, and when discussing and providing examples of relationships, be inclusive of gender relationships. So essentially, we're going from what would be anatomy and hygiene from an absence-based, very neutral, and allowing parents to have, wherever they stand in the aisle, have a monopoly on that conversation as it's had in their own household, to firmly recognizing this very specific ideology. And I guess it's just one of those things I want to kind of point out there on the record, that if anyone is considering having their kids go into sex ed, if this bill were to pass, it is going to look very, very different from the way it's looked in the past. That's something to take very seriously, because one of the things that they also include in here is anything that's quote unquote medically accurate is based on the Center for Disease Control, and includes what you would call affirmative language, so towards sex conversion therapy, which is what they think is medically accurate. There's other studies that show that not only is gender conversions like that not helpful, but also very damaging 12 months after the sort of honeymoon period of that sort of procedure ends. So it's something that I think parents should take a look into and take very seriously. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Anything else? No. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Knox, supported by Mr. Richards. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 9:24.